10th year of our Lord 2024, 6 p.m. Item 2, roll call. City Secretary.
Mayor Hoven,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Swanner,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Mata,
Present.
Councilmember Thompson,
Present.
Councilmember Vasquez,
Present.
Councilmember Connell,
Present.
Councilmember Haney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 3, invocation will be given to us by Pastor Steve Moss of First Methodist Church, followed by Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge, given to us by Councilmember Haney. All those wishing to join us for a moment of prayer can do so voluntarily by standing up. Pastor, the floor is yours. This is your church.
Thank you, Mayor. Let us pray. Oh, good and gracious and loving God, we thank you for the beauty of this day. Lord, we give you thanks for this city and all those who call this wonderful place home. And Lord, as this council meeting begins, we pray a blessing upon these leaders, that you would lead and guide their thoughts and their discussions and any decisions that are made. We pray that all these things are done in a way that glorify you and help this wonderful city. We ask all these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
This is always the fun part. Today we have a City of Odessa proclamation honoring hunger. Whereas hunger and poverty are issues of concern in the United States, the state of Texas, and the City of Odessa, and whereas the City of Odessa is committing to taking steps to raise awareness about the need to solve hunger in every part of Odessa and provide additional resources that citizens of Odessa need, and whereas the City of Odessa is committed to working with the West Texas Food Bank and their hunger relief partners to educate people about the role of the food banks and the hunger relief programs in addressing hunger, and whereas 9.3% of households in Ector County experience food insecurity according to Feeding America's MAP, the Meal Gap Report, and whereas more than 14,500 individuals in Ector County experience hunger annually, many of whom rely on the West Texas Food Bank and its network of hunger relief partners agencies, and whereas the food bank across the country, include the West Texas Food Bank, will host events and activities throughout the month of September to bring awareness. Now I, therefore, am not Javier Hoven, but here's the mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Odessa, do hereby proclaim this month of September 2024 as Hunger Action Month. If Libby and Autumn would like to come up here and accept this proclamation.
I think that's whenever I got this one. Oh, that's Libby. I hadn't seen her. Yeah. It wasn't.
Love the burnt orange.
You would.
It used to be red, but it's just the sun heated too much.
Any member of the public may address the city council regarding any of its agenda items before or during the consideration of said item. Council, will you overlook a consent agenda as presented? Entertain a motion to accept, deny, or amend.
So moved to approve.
I have a
items 1
motion
through 5.
for approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Swanner. All in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed indicating the same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We're going to move on to regular item agenda. Consider the purchase of 3 new trucks for solid waste, 2 automated side loads, and 1 roll-off. Mr. Adams.
Sorry, Chris.
Mayor, council, I'd like to ask for permission to purchase 3 new trucks for solid waste, 2 of which are automated side loads, 1 is a roll-off. All 3 of them are Mack chassis. The automateds have Heil 28-yard Python bodies on them, and the roll-off will have a Galbraith 75,000 hoist with Pioneer tarp system. It's a total of $1.1 million being purchased on a TIPS cooperative contract. Automated trucks, with your permission, would be here delivered to us March to April of 2025, and the roll-off truck would be here late November, early December.
Roll-off will be November, December?
Late November, early December of this year.
Okay. Council, do we have any discussion? Any comments?
So none of the trucks were, I'm just asking, I'll keep asking, I guess, none of them are locally available?
No, Mack dealer, the
Oh,
Mack
they're
dealer
Macks,
here.
okay.
Yeah, Mack dealer here does not have any availability
None of
for
that
them this
stuff.
year.
And that's what you had, yeah, gotcha. Thank you.
Council, no further discussion. Entertain a motion for approval on item 6 as presented by Mr. Adams.
I so move.
Have a motion by Councilmember
Second.
Vasquez, second by Councilmember Thompson. All in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed indicating same sign. Motion passes unanimously. Appreciate it, Mr. Adams. Oh, you got another item. Item 7, consider purchase of a replacement bucket truck for the traffic department and replace assets that reach the end of its useful life. Mr. Adams.
Yes, this again, it's a purchased, it will be a replacement vehicle. It's a 2024 F550 chassis with VersaLift bucket on it. The price is $187,300. We did receive 3 quotes, 2 from local vendors and 1 out-of-state vendor. Sewell Ford has the vehicle in stock for immediate delivery. It is a little bit more expensive, but they do have it for immediate delivery.
Yeah, but they got it.
That is correct.
Council, do we have any discussion on this item?
Thank you.
No comments? If not, entertain a motion for approval.
So
I
moved.
have a motion by Councilmember Thompson on item 7 as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Haney. All in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed indicating same sign. Motion passed unanimously. We're going to move on to item 8. Consider purchase of a new bucket truck. Traffic Department purchase a new bucket truck for $193. Mr. Adams.
This again is a brand new asset for traffic. It's 2024 F550 VersaLift. Basically the same thing. This one just has a material handler on it. Received 3 bids, 2 from local vendors, 1 from out of state. Sewell Ford happens to have this vehicle in stock for immediate delivery, so I'd like to purchase it from them.
Council, any discussion?
Like to buy local, so move.
I have a motion by Councilmember Thompson for item 8 as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Mata. All in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed indicating same sign. Motion passed unanimously. We're going to move on to item 9.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Item 9, consider ratifying the property tax revenue increase reflected in the fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget. Ms. Banda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So I have several items to present for you all today, but right now we will be looking at ratifying the property tax revenue increase that is reflected in our upcoming budget. The proposed rate is lower than last year by about 2 cents. The rate will be 0.466275 cents per $100 valuation. The proposed rate is only slightly higher than the no new revenue rate of 0.462503. And it's lower than the voter approval rate of 0.498027. This budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget by an amount of $2,798,250, which is a 5.42% increase from last year's budget. Of that amount, $1,214,116 is tax revenue to be raised from new properties added to the tax roll. A vote under this, under the local government code, is necessary to establish the property tax revenue increase. This is separate from adopting the budget, and it's also separate from setting the tax rate, which we will do at the special meeting coming up. So I'll take any questions on that if you have any.
Council, any questions?
Council, we do have a speaker card.
Good.
Jeff Russell.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. I would encourage you guys to consider keeping the rate at the no new revenue tax rate. While it is true that some of the property tax increase is going to come from new properties that have been added to the roll, the reality of it is that 7% of that increase is going to come from existing property owners due to higher property tax valuations. As I think everyone's aware, everyone's suffering from inflation and everything. So I think anything that we can do to keep people's property taxes down is worthy of consideration. I'd like to see it even, I think there's also the potential even to go below the new revenue tax rate. It's kind of hard to talk on this issue because there's 3 or 4 agenda items that are all kind of intertwined as we get into the city's budget and into all the things that make up that budget. The most striking, though, that I've learned, and I don't really understand it, I'll be frank to admit I do understand what the fund balance is because we've dealt with that in school budgets many, many times, and I've looked at it many, many times over the years. But, according to the budget summary in page 14 of the budget book that was presented, at the end of the year, we're still going to have a budget, a fund balance of $272 million. So that's $272 million after all the revenue that's projected to come in comes in, all the bills that are paid. We're still going to have $272 million left in our fund balance. And I'm frankly very confused about that when we've heard for years, the city can't do this, can't do that, can't do something else because we don't have any money. $272 million is basically a whole year's worth of budget. The Government Finance Officers Association recommends 2 to 3 months as a fund balance. So I think there's a lot of room to help taxpayers out, to cut the rate, to keep it as low as we can, probably even to cut it below last year's rate. I know that's kind of unheard of for anybody to cut it below last year's rate, but there seems to be ample opportunity and really help people out that are struggling, the taxpayers that are struggling from all the inflation. Thank you.
So,
That it?
yes.
Okay. Do I have any other questions?
Council, do we have any questions, any comments?
I do.
Councilman Haney?
I'm not going to be able to vote for an increase on this. I think we need to stop all of the increase on the water. I think we need to stop all the increase on the water, sewer, and all the trash. We have ample enough money for this year. I'm ready to give the people a break. I'm a taxpayer. I'm ready for a break. Every year, my taxes have gone up year after year after year. So this year, we've added increases on properties, and we have this extra money coming in that we're going to have by the end of the year. I have stuff on my side of the town that needs to get fixed that we can use this money with. We can do this, guys, tonight. We can stop. So for once in our lives, we can stop increases every year. We can do this tonight.
I want to ask a question. Can the city legally use property tax monies for an enterprise fund? Enterprise fund is the water treatment plant.
No.
I don't believe so.
Can you give me a statement of why? Do you have that answer?
So our enterprise funds are supported by the revenues of the business that they generate. And so that is why they are separate from our general fund, which is supported by property tax and sales tax. So we have to, just like, any private business would, we have to assess the costs of our business operations of these enterprise funds. And from time to time, we do have to make the proper adjustments to the rates for the consumers of those services.
Basically, in layman's terms, is that the city is in, it's not a utility, but for the explanation is it has a water treatment plant. It is in the water business. It purchases and sells water to both residents and businesses. And so that money that's generated, it's to generate and continue to operate that business. So you cannot transfer those monies over from property taxes to property that goes back. You just can't. You can't pollinate in each other. Basically, it's correct. Also, with the solid waste, is also another enterprise fund. It's the same deal when the city of Odessa used to be in the landfill business. That is also an enterprise fund. And so, so legally, we just cannot, under my understanding, we cannot take those enterprise funds and turn around and then lower those property taxes. Am I correct in that, my assessment? Okay. So one, legally, we can't do it. The other one is, we had a discussion on the, that's why we did the retreat. We had a discussion at the retreat. And so let me ask this question. So the issuance of COs was made in what year for?
2019 and.
2021 was the last water sewer issuance.
Okay. And
There
so,
wasn't sewer, though, I don't think. Just water.
just water, for the water.
Yes, I'm sorry.
And that was 92 million?
99
93 million.
93 million.
93.
We'll get it right.
It was at that time that we had a discussion about the interest rates and how much we're going to get paid back as $133 million. At that time, we had that discussion. We're having the discussion again today, is that how is that debt repaid? Can you explain that to me, Ms. Bender?
So the debt is repaid. That's why we increase our rates, so that we can take on those additional debt payments. And I will say that we haven't gotten to that item yet, but since we're already talking about it, the rate increase was supposed to be 6%, because that is what was initially discussed and established, that's what it would take to handle the increased debt payments for the the CO year after year. But when we took a look at the numbers.
Could we, when we get to
Okay.
that item, can we let her explain there?
Okay.
That's
That
fine.
would be better.
So we'll just come back on that one.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So as of right now, we had that discussion as far as, I think ideally we all want to be able to, look, we're all suffering from this inflation. None of us here are immune to that. Some of us pay more, some of us pay less, but nonetheless, we all pay. Ideally, do we want to be able to drop it? Yes. Now, is this going to be a fodder on some online news? Of course it is. But my question is Councilman Haney, is that how do we propose, if we legally can't be able to transfer enterprise funds into property taxes, vice versa, how do we propose to be able to make this year's budget, when we were all discussed it at, this summer at the retreat, to come to a conclusion and say, hey guys, let's go ahead and just drop it even more lower? How do we get that? And the thing is that none of us have a looking glass to the end of the year. Yes, there's a fund balance that's out there. There is reserves. The question is it a 3-month or 4-month or a 6-month? City of Kermit had a 6-year. We're healthy. We are running off of revenues. But, the question is that we'd have to go back to redo the entire budget to drop that, and we have a time crunch right now. The ample time that's why we do the retreat, to be able to have that discussion, that detailed discussion at that time. That's what the whole purpose of the retreat is. So now, it's under a crunch time, okay? And I'd love to be able to consider it. So I'm sure we're gonna have some rebuttal here, but we're not gonna continue on this discussion. Do we have to open it for a public?
No, this is.
So what action do we need to take?
Just simply a motion to ratify.
Council, do we have any further discussion on this item?
Council, we have another speaker card.
I'm sure we did.
Chris Crow.
Go ahead, let's hear your strategy.
Council, thank you for your time. First of all, thank you to Mr. Beckmeyer. He was gracious enough to spend about an hour and a half with me last week answering a lot of my budget questions, which I'll have a few more, but he did save us a whole lot of time tonight by doing that. Thank you so much, John. As far as the property tax rate, and I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Mayor. Here in a few minutes, we'll talk about water, we'll talk about sewer, we'll talk about solid waste and all of those things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to pretty simple. Based on your budget, at the end of this year, after all the revenues collected, after all the taxes are paid, after all the bills are paid, you've got $275 million in the bank across all of your departments. So with that being said, it doesn't make sense to keep raising the property tax rates. So I understand you're dropping your rate by 4 cents. That's great. Thank you so much for that, because you could have gone up, more than that. But in a time right now where people are hurting with the increases in inflation that this country's never seen before, people are struggling. In addition to that, how many calls have you guys had on their increased water bills just through the changes in our water meters and those things? You guys have the ability to drop this rate and give the people of Odessa some relief and some comfort. This is a year where you've actually got some money in the bank, as Mr. Thompson has pointed out. This is one of the years where we've actually got a positive budget. Why don't you give some of the money back to the people? These are the ones that are putting the money into the coffers anyway, right?
We all are.
So, and we all are, absolutely. But in a year when you can, there's so many years when you can't, where it's just totally impossible because we have so many needs. But with $275 extra million in the bank, the people deserve a little break. Thank you for your time.
So here, just in some final comments, and if y'all have anything for me, of course, we can continue. We are taking a look at our fund balances very closely. In fact, we've had several conversations about what is the appropriate amount of fund reserves that we should have. Mr. Russell is correct. The GFOA does recommend 2 to 3 months for cities who are not reliant on volatile revenues, which sales tax in this area is considered a volatile revenue. And so we're doing some assessments right now to determine what the proper balance is. I will say that for this budget year, you're right, Mayor, we did have a very in-depth meeting to discuss these numbers. We have already filed these numbers, we have already run all the numbers, and a budget has to be adopted by the start of the fiscal year. So there are deadlines and things in place set by legislation that would be problematic. It would hinder us from doing that if we were to take too much action that is different from what we have in our proposed budget book.
At the time that we had the session, when we did the retreat, we didn't have this information where we were with our fund balance. We didn't have anything to be able to consider it. We weren't unaware of this. This is something that's just come up recently. So, to be able to start over, we just don't have the time constraint. We're under time constraint.
And Mr. Mayor, they're around these fund balances because they all add up to a really big fund balance.
Yep.
We are using some of those instead of budgeting several $1 million to make repairs and replacements. We are using some of these, especially in the wastewater area, and they are going to be used. It's not that we're going to sit back here and have a year's worth of fund balance sitting where we could run a year, and by the way, that still doesn't guarantee that you run your operations for a year, because where's the biggest balance is at? Are they here or are they here? So it goes back to your previous discussion earlier around the agenda item that was out of order, but it is around that same thing. So you can't always use the same dollars in every place. Kaylee and her team are going through to see, okay, what is that optimal balance that protects everyone in that fund balance. And the volatility can't be stressed enough. And I've used this example before. I built great big pipe works for one company here in Odessa. In 2014, I sold them 60 sets. In 2015, I sold them 0. Our sales tax revenue here is not, it's volatile. And, well, I'll just leave it there because it's valid points, but at the same time, it can't be rushed into at the same time.
I really believe that we need to let our staff do the due diligence and explore, what we can do. We have some big budget items. We have a Bob Darrington we have to deal with. And there is room to be able to use those funds or not. We should use them. We all, as council, we discussed this in the retreat of what we're faced with going forward with the infrastructure and the discovery of the health of this fund balance. First, we got to find out where we need to be with the emergency reserve funds. Same discussions we had throughout the time when I was on council before. Two is that Mr. Beckmeyer is correct, the volatility of the nature of where we live. What we are here today, we're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow or next year. The prudent thing, the feel-good thing was be able to drop it as far as we can go. But then that too starts another debate. We've gone into discussions for the future, but that's still far away into the horizon. Today, we got to deal with what we're faced with now. What we discussed in the budget, we've been discussing this budget since July. This is what's before us, and this is what we have to do with. This council did its best work with the staff, with the information we had at the time, and this is where we came up with the was it 0.466?
Yes.
And so, council, do we have any other further discussion on this item as presented, item 9 by the council? If we have no discussion, do we have a name it, or we have to take a motion for approval? So, council, do we have a motion to ratify, ratifying the property tax revenue increase reflected in fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget?
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Thompson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Swanner. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating the same sign. Is that? It's okay. 6-1. We're going to move on to item 10, consideration approval of purchase of valves for Don Tower. Mr. Rolette. Alex, how you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
We're doing good.
Good. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're asking for your consideration and approval of the purchase of 2 24-inch gate valves and 1 16-inch gate valve for installation at the Don Tower. We currently have an additional 24-inch butterfly valve with an actuator in stock at the city warehouse that was there for 2 years. That was found. Which will complete the necessary number of valves to replace all the valves at this tower. We received 4 total quotes, and we're choosing Western Industrial Supply as our vendor due to being the lowest price and quickest available time frame. With this approval, the Utilities Department will be able to have full control of this tower if an emergency occurs. The appropriation of money is within our budget. These 3 valves will cost $67,680.
Council, do we have any questions on this?
How quickly is that replaceable?
It just depends. If we have to take it out for bid to replace the valves, depending if it goes over 50,000, we are going to have to implement a line stop to stop the inflow of water from the water treatment plant into the tower.
Well, how big a line is that?
It's a 24-inch. So I do have, that will end up costing, when we come to it, it's a TIPS contract, so that's going to be $27,000 to implement 1 line stop. We would have to do 2 line stops, but back in 2011, our city engineer, Yvonne, made it to where we can de-water the tower back into the system without having to take water out of the tower.
Okay, what does that mean?
So pretty much what we can do is hook up a pump to open a valve, hook up a pump to that valve, put the water back into the system, shut the valve to where we don't lose that the Don Tower is 2 million gallons. So we wouldn't have to waste 2 million gallons, down the street, pretty much.
Okay.
So we can pretty much empty the tower, put it back into the system, shut the valve, and then we have a line stop on one side, we shut the valve on the other, then we can go in and replace all of those valves and without any interruption. I've spoken with our plant manager at the water treatment plant. This will not interrupt anybody's water service, anything like that. We can run off that for about 3 weeks, and this project should only last about a week.
Okay.
So we should be fine. Just depending on if we have to take it to bid, just mattering the cost of that. Yes, sir.
Are you automating these valves?
Sir?
Are you automating these
Okay,
valves?
yes, sir. So one of them. So one of them is an automated actuator that we have at the warehouse. It was bought, to my knowledge, I am new, so it was bought a while back. I'm not sure who the director was at that time.
That's okay.
But yes, we will have one automated valve. It has an actuator where you just hook up electricity, click close, open, and it will automate. So we will have.
So we had that valve actuator purchased, but you don't know when, but it's.
I could find out.
Would you?
Yes, sir, I will,
Curious.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, I can find out when it was purchased, but
There
I
was a
did.
need for it, they bought it, and then they stored it.
Yes, there was a
Valve
need
out.
for it. There is an altitude valve there that has, exceeded its life, and it was bought for that. But I don't know when exactly it was found. I just know I was in the warehouse and stumbled upon it.
Sounds about right.
So there's one piece of equipment sitting at the base of that water tower?
On a trailer?
Yeah.
Yes, that would be the dewatering. So what
Okay.
we'll do is that there's a
I was
pump
just
there.
trying to put all that together.
Yes, sir.
I keep seeing that and wondering what it was.
Yes, sir. So that is our dewatering device. And
Yeah.
so that
Cool.
pump will pump all that water. So we won't lose any water. It'll go right back into the
Love it.
system. Don't have to do anything there. So-
Just real quickly,
Yes, sir.
do you know the other towers that we do have, the status of the valves?
Okay, I don't know the status of them. I do know the reason why that we're deciding on doing the Don Tower first, because I know that we absolutely need the valves there. On JBS Tower, the Parkway Tower, there is a valve with a broken hub. So when we do have Hydromax here in the next 2 weeks, I'm sending them there. We're going to fix the hub on that one. So then we will be 100%, at least one valve there, a 24-inch valve will have a fixed hub, and that valve does work.
Yeah.
The hub is broken. So
During the outage in May, that's part of the reason we came up so quick is we had the Dawn and the JBS towers. We were able to shut them down where whenever the pressure dropped sufficiently from the water treatment plant, they fix the pipe, open those back up, and we had water again, like that quick. Unfortunately, the hub broke when it was
Yes.
coming back open,
Yes.
is all we can figure.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll take some back.
And we couldn't shut it down when we had the other one here a couple months ago.
Yes, sir. And
Mr.
the
Rowland, how many water towers do we have in our community overall?
3, you have the
Three.
Rainbow Tower, you have the Dawn Tower, and you have the JBS Parkway Tower.
And will we be potentially, as a community, having to build other water towers?
Yes, sir.
because of the
We are
development?
currently looking at that right now. We're looking at putting one north of the complex, the sports complex, up JBS, follows all the way up there. We would be extending, if possible, the master plan shows it to extend it from 100th Street east, out there somewhere, JBS Parkway in that area. There's several locations that we could put it, and then running the line down into Parksville Ranch area to complete that circle to give water to that side. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
In that Parksville area, we're pretty much, the water plane is close to saturated.
Yeah.
As far as the development's not all there yet, but they couldn't expand the development there. We're gonna have a tower out that way.
And the Yukon pump station, we're currently working on adding a second 2 million gallon tank right now. We are in construction right now. We just started about a month ago. So that will also feed that tower and Rainbow Tower also to help with that.
It should help with the pressure for the upper plant.
Yes, sir. Yes, that will help
The
with
increase- The increased pressure in the line and the fluctuations was causing the breaks.
Yep.
So turning it down is what helping, but we need that 2 extra million.
Yeah. We're adding another pump there at the Yukon pump station also.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Council, do we have any questions or comments on item 10 as presented by Mr. Alex Rolette? Am I saying it right?
Yes, sir.
Rowlett?
Yeah, Rowlett. Yes, sir. That's a first.
The questions, comments? Yeah. That West Texas twang. If no questions, entertain a motion to approval of item 10 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember
Second.
Vasquez. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Cornell. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating the same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir. We're going to move on to ordinance, item 11. Consider adoption of the City of Odessa fiscal year 2024 annual budget. Ms. Manda, quick break.
Yeah. Just enough to catch my breath. Good evening once again. So yes, we are here to consider the adoption of the Odessa fiscal year 2024-2025 annual budget. I hit a little bit of the high points last time, but I'll just reiterate some of them again for discussion purposes. The budget across all city funds is demonstrating operating revenues of $281,552,754, and it is demonstrating operating expenses of $277,793,246. So we are operating at a surplus. Additionally, we are expending out of the reserves that we discussed approximately $27.4 million on some projects and needed capital expenditures. The city's operating budget represents a strategic approach to align the appropriate resources for the city to continue providing quality services to the citizens of Odessa. Service is the core function of the city, and I will take any questions that you have on the budget.
Council, any questions? Any comments?
Council, we have a speaker card. Chris Crow?
Thank you, council. These will be a few of the questions that I had after Mr. Beckmeyer and I spoke, so thank you for your time. So one, just to kind of clarify what you talked about earlier, Mr. Mayor. So is it that general funds can't be used on enterprise expenses, or is it that enterprise funds can't be used on general fund expenses?
It is that best practice that we keep each in their appropriate pool because each have specific resources that they are supposed to be dedicated and appropriated to.
Okay, excellent. That helps answer one question. So my next question is on the water and sewer fund. We had total revenues last year of $81,339,272, and we're budgeting for total revenues this year of $79,999,152. That's a drop of 1.7%. But we already have budgeted a 3% rate increase in water and a 3% rate increase in sewer. So again, this number doesn't include expenses. How can you budget lower revenues for the year when you're budgeting an increase in rate over what you charged last year?
So last year we increased the rate by 6%, and this year we took a look at the revenues that we incurred last year. They were higher than originally budgeted, so we determined that we could lower the rate that we are increasing by. So that's why the revenues are showing us a little bit lower.
And that's a good answer, but it doesn't answer my question. I understand you could have raised by 6, we only raised by 3. What I'm saying is the revenues that we had last year were $81,339,000. Okay? You're budgeting for a drop of 1.7% this year. This is just revenues. How can the revenues drop when you're raising the rate?
When does the rate increase go into effect?
It'll go into effect October 1, but start on the bills November 1st.
So right now, we're going on last year's rate increase, right?
Yes.
For 1 month, right? So you'll have 11 months of rate increase.
We'll have 12 months of 6%. Oh, in the next fiscal year.
Correct. Yeah, we're looking at the budget. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
So again, my question is, how can you raise the rate but budget lower revenues?
What's the point you're trying to get to, Mr. Crowe?
My point is, it's impossible.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, the budget's incorrect.
Can we address this at this? We can't address this right now until the next item.
Okay. Then go ahead, good, next, you got anything else?
Okay, my apologies. I thought they couldn't address a non-agenda item if this was agenda, so.
We have, go ahead.
I guess, so I'm just looking for clarification, and the reason is because the budget may need to be updated. You know, we're operating on lower revenues when you're probably gonna have more money in the bank than you thought you had, is the whole premise. So,
It's not that it's not a non-agenda item, it's that we're not to that item. So it can be addressed at that point.
We have to wait till item 12 to discuss.
I understand, but I'm sorry, I thought we were on the budget. And the budget is to drop total water rates by 1.7%. So that's still my question.
Which is item 12.
No, I'm item 11, which is the budget, right? Is this? I understand we're going to talk about the water rate again here in a second, but that's still a budget item.
You're on 11.
Thank you, Mr. Beckmeyer. Appreciate that. So the next question is solid waste. So total revenues last year, $17,494,000. I'm sorry?
That's item 13.
This is still a budget item.
About the sewer rate?
It's still a budget item.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's still in the budget.
Have you gone past this 3 minutes?
Yes.
You passed your 3 minutes. You have to come back on and
So-
fill out, we'll just bring it back
We
up.
have tons and tons of man hours to go into the budget, but the citizens get 3 minutes to speak on something that
I didn't make up the
weighs
rules.
heavily on the
These
city.
rules
I
were
understand
set
it,
up
Mr.
before I
Mayor.
got here, and
So-
you're well aware of the rules. You've used
I'm
them.
very
before.
well aware of the rule
Thank you
of
very
3
much.
minutes, Mr. Mayor, so thank you for your
I
time.
appreciate it, sir. So we're back to item 11, consideration and adoption of the city fiscal year 2024 annual budget. Ms. Bender.
Okay, so do we have any further questions or discussion on
I
the
just would
budget?
like to make a point. Thank you, staff, for going to the zero-based budget, because the department heads in here worked really, really hard to go to the zero-based budget, which in return made our fund balance higher. So we are going to, and I see heads shaking in the audience, so we are going to have to use that fund balance for some very hard projects for future councils.
Well said, Councilwoman. I did like to point out also that $27.4 million in hard capital projects is about 10% of the existing fund balance, regardless of where it comes from. So 10% of the balance being used in any one year, I think is very doable. I think it's prudent. I think it should be used, but I think we have to be careful. It's too easy to dip into it. Next thing you know, you're out of money. So we have to be very diligent. The surplus being generated this year is only $400,000, and that's a blink of an eye in this business with the rate increases like they are. Because the city suffers from the same thing the citizens do, and that's everything we've bid has come back more than what we anticipated. So it affects us all.
Mayor, we have a speaker card.
Sure we do.
Jeff Russell.
You just guys wanted to just sit up here? Be easier. Go ahead.
I'll constrain my questions to the actual budget summary. You know, there were a few things that stood out to me in the budget that I think bear discussion. One of them, which has already gotten some play in the media. You know, when we look at some departmental numbers, you know, we have a 99.5% increase in the city secretary's office budget. We have a 45.6% increase in the city manager's office budget, and we have a 75.9% increase in planning and development. So you see some very big ones. You know, the one that really stuck out to me was the city manager's office, where we now have under the proposed budget, we have 7 positions under the city manager that are basically PR positions. We have a director of communications, a content creator, a deputy director of communications, a public safety communications manager, a liaison, a multimedia specialist, a multimedia journalist. All of these have led to nearly a $1 million increase in the city manager's budget. I would really like to encourage the council to take another look at that to determine, you know, are we a city government or are we a public relations firm? It seems like a very excessive amount as a taxpayer for us to be spending on PR personnel within the city manager's office. There was some talk, Mr. Thompson, I know in his press conference, stated that some of those people were moved from other departments, but with the exception of possibly one being moved from the police department's deal, I couldn't find those when I went through the department by department personnel budget summary. So it seems like there's certainly some room for some cutting there that would again save the taxpayers and would streamline that office. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Council, any other questions?
Mr. Beckmeyer, can you go into a little bit more detail on this department that he's talking about?
I would love to.
How much money has been saved with this?
So just the communications department alone has saved well in excess of $1 million in the last year by consolidating many of the things that were spread across the city, such as software licensing, different types of advertising, things like that. It seems like the communications department, whenever we look at that 9.7 million, or 750,000, something like that number, it's always brought out, well, it's all these positions in the communications department. Well, 300,000 of that 900,000 is services due to some things like the software that we're buying out of there and providing different services that have been spread across the city to bring them into a central location. In addition to the safety communications, though, that was brought into the communications department, also, if you remember, we moved all event planning into the communications department because it's kind of stupid to have it out in all the different departments, because we had things like 3 events in one weekend. We were losing money on different events and we had no idea. We were wondering where our budgets were going in these different departments. So we brought it in and we consolidated that. We have added some communications people, and part of that is because the communications department now is doing all the communications for the city itself. We're also handling all the advertising and the promotions out of the communications department. So again, it's a pretty neat red herring to throw out there and chase without asking any questions and going any deeper into it. And it's easily accounted for. The city manager's department has consolidated a lot of the services through the city manager's department, because you can't, it's pretty bad practice to spread out general services across an organization this size. You'll never know what you're spending on. I can go to the businessmen out here. If you had every department in your business spending on the same things, that'd be kind of foolish. Well, we have consolidated a lot of that, and again, well in excess of $1 million that we can quantify that we saved just on advertising and software. And so, does that answer any of your questions?
It does, and I guess be ready for a PR request on the quantification of that stuff.
Well,
it's coming.
The cool thing about PRs, and this is something for people that like to write PRs, we don't create work. If it's not there in black and white, we don't create work.
Council, do we have any other questions, comments? Questions directed to Ms. Banda? Ms. Banda, do you have any other, anything else to add? We're on item 11? No?
Just need a motion to approve.
Yeah. Council, if we don't have any more discussion, do we have a motion to approve item 11 as presented?
So moved.
Have a motion by Councilmember Mata.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Thompson. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating same side. Okay,
Thank
6
you,
to 1.
Kelly. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. We're gonna move on to item 12. consider the approval of the water rate change. First approval, an increase of the water rate of 3.0 is being proposed at this item, and it is the first of the approval of the proposal. Ms. Bender?
Okay, so to assist with the continued rising costs of equipment, debt obligations, maintenance repairs, other operating expenditures, replacement of deteriorating lines for water in the water and sewer department, we are proposing a change to the water rates of 3.0% increase. This is a decrease from last year's rate of 6.0%. And as I mentioned earlier, we incurred some excess revenue in the last fiscal year over what we budgeted, and so we deemed it appropriate to increase only by 3% rather than the full 6%. That was established in the past that we would do.
Ms. Bender, were you talking about a 3%? Do we have a kind of a dollar amount that we'll be seeing per household, per gallons? Do we have that?
The rates are broken out in the ordinance, but I wouldn't have last year's to compare to in front of me what the increase
We
is.
can make those available if we can get those.
We can readily make them available.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then we had worked out about $1.20.
$1.21 on a
$1.27, I think.
dollar what?
$1.27.
$1.27
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
per resident.
$1.30.
Yeah.
$1.30.
Okay.
It's not much.
Yeah, per household.
Do we have a speaker card?
No.
Oh, okay. Council, do we have any comments, discussion on item 12? Not entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Swann. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Vasquez. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating same sign. 6-1. Item 13, consider the approval of sewer rate change. First approval, increase of sewer rate of 3.0 being proposed. This item is the first approval of the proposal. Ms. Bender?
So to assist once again with the continued rise in equipment, maintenance repairs, operating the deteriorating sewer lines, we are proposing a 3% increase to the rates. This will impact residential, commercial, and industrial, as will the previous rate change you just voted on. So it will be a 3% increase, which is lesser than the 6% that was implemented last year.
Speaker card.
No.
Council, do we have any discussion or comments on this item?
I don't mean to be sounding comical, but when you look at the rates, it says residential, it's got a dollar amount, and then you have residential senior/disability. At my age, am I under the senior or am I under residential?
I think wherever you would
Senior
like to be
residential.
placed. Wherever your heart desires, Councilman.
Good answer.
Whatever I can get. Council, any discussions? Any comments? If not, entertain.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Mayor.
Oh.
I think Mr. Crowe has a speak.
I'll wait until the next one. We'll wait till 14.
You're gonna go to 14? You're gonna speak on 14?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, seeing there's no speaker card on item 13, do I have a motion? And a second, I have a motion. Councilman Thompson, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Mata. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating same sign. 7-0. Item 14, consider the approval of solid waste rate change. First approval, an increase of solid rate of 3.5 is being proposed on this item. First approval of the proposal. Ms. Bender.
Thank you. Similarly, to assist with the increasing maintenance costs associated with the solid waste department, also to aid with the increased equipment costs, as we've had to replace a lot of capital assets in that department this year. A change of 3.5% increase is being proposed. This is equal to the rate that was implemented last year. And it will be applicable to residential, commercial, and industrial consumers.
Council, do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I've got a question, Kelly.
Yes.
What was our increase tipping fees to Republic last year? Was it pretty substantial, wasn't it, last year?
Or,
Tipping fees?
I don't have that number off the top of my head, I'm sorry. I
know-
can get it to
I
you.
know it was substantial.
Yeah, we went, the tipping fees went up.
It was.
It was
That's
very
why we
substantial.
That's why
negotiated.
we made that
That's
deal.
why we-
Right.
To where it would, we
Yeah,
would be.
so this question is gonna come up, so, management, Mr. Beckmeyer has, just so
Yeah.
public knows, has negotiated a new 10-year contract with Republic, which is gonna save the city about $6 million over
Over the 10 years.
over the 10 years. Am I right, Mr. Beckmeyer? So, just so people know it, we're not just sitting back here in a room, doing nothing. Pulling numbers out of our ears.
This is about voting.
Sorry?
This is about voting. Am I to be excused from this or on this, on
Do
the
you-
solid waste?
Do you work for Republic?
Yes, sir.
Then, yeah, you
need to retain your stuff.
you have a conflict of interest form
That's
filled
what
out?
I just want to.
Okay. So you'll have a conflict, you'll be abstaining on
Yes,
the solid waste?
Yes, sir.
Do we
Okay.
have a conflict of interest form?
I'll have one, have he fill one out.
Yeah, we will get one filled out.
Do we have to have one for Republic to fill out too?
Yes.
Yes. They're a vendor, they should already have.
They should have
They
one.
are.
You already have one?
Yeah. We've
Okay.
already filled one out. I filled one out.
Oh, then if he already has one in file, you don't need another one.
Just need to abstain.
That's all. Just asking.
Do we have any discussion on item 14 as presented?
We have a speaker.
We have a speaker.
Oh, I'm sorry, you have a speaker card. Go ahead.
Chris Coe?
Thank you, Council. So this item is going to be very similar to the item that I brought up for the Water and Sewer Fund, in that with solid waste, we went from total revenues last year of $17,494,129 to an budgeted total revenues this year of $20,134,327. That is a 15.1% revenue increase, and yet we're only budgeting a 3.5% increase in solid waste rates. The point is, it's mathematically impossible. So my whole point here is that your budget isn't matching up with your numbers. You're saying, we're going to raise rates by this much, but my revenues are going up this much or not going enough. Or my revenues are going up this much and we're not raising, and the revenues are going down. The budget just doesn't make sense. So I'd encourage you to go back and look at the numbers and do an amended budget. I know you're under a time constraint, but you do have the ability to do an amended budget at a later time. Thank you.
Council, any discussion? Any comments? Entertain a motion to consider approval of solid rate change of 3.5 being proposed. First proposal. We have a motion?
I so move.
I have a motion by Councilmember Vasquez. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cornell. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating the same sign. 6-0, 1 abstention. We're going to move on to item 15. Consider appointment of judges and clerks for the general city election on November 5th, 2024. Ordinance first approval. Ms.
Mayor and
Aguilar.
Council, according to the Texas Election Code, it requires the governing body to appoint the, sorry about that, appoint the judges for the election for the November 5th, for the November 5th election. So this before you have the election judges list. The Ector County was sent to you recently, so I have that list, and it's for your consideration.
We got an amended budget on that yet?
We have,
I'm going to keep asking that question.
we do have a tentative.
A tentative.
Tentative.
Broken down
It's about
by-
a little bit about over 100 grand.
For entities?
Five.
5 entities.
5 entities.
That price
So
is-
instead of 300, it's 100 or
It's
roughly,
roughly around 100 grand.
is what we're being told.
Council, if there is no discussion or comments on item 15, entertain a motion to approve the appointments of the judges and clerks for the general city election.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Cornell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Swanner. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating the same sign. Motion passes unanimously. We're going to move on to resolution. Consider approval of relocating hydrants to the roadway side to right-of-way side of a water main. Ms. Rowlett.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We're asking for your consideration and approval of the agreement with TxDOT for the relocation of 7 fire hydrants from the roadway side of a 12-inch PVC water main along Solo Road to the right-of-way side of the water main. The proposed relocations will include removing the fire hydrants, 6-inch gate valves, fire hydrant connector pipe, 6-inch PVC fire hydrant lead pipe and ductile iron fittings, and repositioning and connecting the assembly on the right-of-way side of the main 3 feet from the right-of-way line. The project will cost for the city $137,820. Upon completion of this project, TxDOT will reimburse us fully 100% of the cost. The contractor that TxDOT has vetted and chosen is Hotchkiss Construction. The estimated start date of this project is November 1st and expected to be completed by December 1st. Any questions?
Council, any questions? There's a map right here.
I'm assuming, Alex, that when you say that TxDOT will reimburse us fully after the repairs are made, if that you have some kind of legal agreement signed
Yes,
to
sir.
that?
Yes, sir. And then we've already done one segment before this, which they have done all of that too.
I just didn't want it to just be a handshake.
I agree. Yes, sir.
Councilman
Absolutely.
Vasquez, that's,
No, we've got it.
Yeah.
yeah, that's part of the MPO board that I sit on.
Oh, okay.
That's where those decisions are made. And as we go along, we have to participate, Middle has to participate, and then we get reimbursed for what we have to spend inside the city limits.
It's all
Thank
part of-
you.
That's
It's all part of that MPO.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all part of that, that construction that's going on. And they're pretty quick with payment.
Yeah, they're good.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Council, any discussion, comments on item 16 as presented? If not, consider a motion for approval of item 16 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Swanner, seconded by Councilmember Mata. At least I didn't call you Denise.
Denise.
Second by Councilmember Mata. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating same sign. Motion passed unanimously. We're going to move on to item 17, consideration of the approval of purchase aerator replacement parts for the Bob Darrington Water Reclamation Plant. Ms. Rolette.
We're asking for your consideration and approval of the purchase of the remaining miscellaneous aerator parts such as bearings, bushings, hubs, sleeves, sheaves, drives, motors, and shafts. These parts are necessary for the continued operation of the aeration basins at our Bob Darrington wastewater treatment plant. These purchases will help us with daily operations of the plant and will enhance our spare parts on hand if any problems arise with the aeration basins. The total cost for all the parts are $150,067.95. The appropriation of this money is within our budget.
It's in the budget.
Yes, sir.
Council, we have any questions on item 17 as presented? If no comments or discussion, entertain a motion to approve item 17 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion by Councilmember Haney. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Cornell. All those in favor indicating by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating same sign. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We're going to move on to miscellaneous. Item 18, consider the election of the Region 4 Director of the TML Board of Directors. This is a vote for candidates to represent the Texas Municipal League Region 4. This is at the state level.
Yes, Mayor, Council, so Texas Municipal League has changed the process of how the Region 4 TML directors are appointed. It used to be through the cities. Now they changed it to where the governing body has the right to vote. So this is a formal process where council can decide by majority vote who to appoint. We have 2 candidates as you in your packet. It's John Davis, the mayor of Balmorhea, and Jack Ladd, council member, city of Midland.
Okay, so tell us the process. This is new to us too.
So council will just discuss who y'all want to have representing from the TML Region 4. We will submit that vote to TML, and based on the cities from Region 4, the majority
so 7
will have,
votes will be calculated, or do we have to vote as a body?
as a one governing body.
You have to make a motion where you want to do person A or person B, second it, and then you'll take a vote on it.
Would you
Okay.
do it, city attorney, would you do a nomination?
Well, and with the way it's presented, though, we would actually, the way it's presented on the agenda, we actually would be, yeah, you could nominate, this is who we want, but you're gonna have to vote on it. Or just make a motion to do it.
Just do 2 votes and you're done.
So, Mayor, you know the, I don't know the mayor
have,
from Balmaray.
Can I recommendation for the mayor of Balmaray?
So that's gonna be the recommendation, nomination, motion.
Oh, no, you made a recommendation, wasn't a motion. I haven't recognized it.
Okay, that's
Okay,
right.
thank you,
That's
City
right, that's
Attorney.
right, that's right.
Sorry,
Semantics.
No, I understand it. So I haven't recognized it, but hold it for a second. So just for public consumption, since we have, this is a whole new process. This has never been done this way. You just used to just be able to fill out an application and send it in. So since this is being recorded, this is a public hearing. John L. Davis is mayor of Balmaray. John L. Davis is the mayor of the city of Balmaray and a small business owner for 15 years experience in municipal government, law enforcement, strategy, and analytics. He has worked in different organizations and has a proven track record in teamwork with growth and customer engagement. He is passionate, innovative, creative, and data-driven insights. Is dedicated to networking, helping communities, organizations achieve their goals. Davis plays a crucial role in local government and acting as chief executive of the city and working with business owners within the oil and gas industry. His key roles include leadership, decision-making, public interaction, administrative oversight, budget management, media, and the public relation appointments, and provides information, assistance, support across a wide range of topics. Davis is an ordained minister, holds an associate degree in criminal justice, a certificate in master peace officer, is an occupational safety and health trainer, construction safety and health trainer, forklift trainer, and an MEWP aerial lift supervisor trainer. Davis is TML Small City Advisory Council Chair, TML Policy Summit Delegate, Permian Basin Regional Planning Commission Board of Directors, and member. Davis is also passionate working with people and networking different organizations. He loves his family, friends, baking, fishing, and not conducting city business or hauling heavy equipment. When he's not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Make that distinction.
Make that distinction when he's not conducting city business and hauling heavy equipment. City Councilman Jack Ladd, member of the City Council in Midland. He is the incumbent at the Board of Directors at TML Region 4. Jack Ladd manages Morales Law Office in Midland location. He is 4th-generation Midlander, current City Council member, District 3. Jack is an Eagle Scout, graduate of Midland High School, the University of Texas at Austin, and Texas Tech University. So he is a conflicted soul, where he earned an MBA and JD simultaneously. Jack has run successful Republican campaigns for the United States House of Representatives and Texas House. He is practicing attorney, former legislative staff for the United States Senator Kate Bailey Hutchison and State Representative Tryon Lewis. He is married to Elana Glad. Jack is licensed practice both in Texas and New Mexico. So those are your two candidates, Council. Know both gentlemen. Jack has served as an incumbent. He was president of the local Region 4 TML, in which I'm serving now and I'm terming out. And so Jack has served on the board of directors for the last, 4 years?
4 years.
Right? And so,
Board member of NPOs, yeah.
I know John L. Davis, Mayor of Balmaray. We've worked together. He is a man of integrity. They both are. Either way, it'll be represented. One of the things that, as president of TML Region 4, really pushed for our region to work with small cities. I think it's very crucial that small cities be represented because there's a really small voice. City of Odessa, both City of Odessa and Midland cast a big shadow. And so there's a recommendation. Will that be in the motion, Councilman?
Yes, sir.
So we have I'll recognize a motion by Councilman Haney for John L. Davis, Mayor of Balmaray.
I will second it.
And we have a second. We have a motion and a second by Councilmember Vasquez. All those in favor of John L. Davis, Mayor of Balmaray for Region 4 Director candidate? All those in favor indicating by a motion of aye.
Aye.
All those opposed indicating the same sign. Motion is unanimous.
No.
So congratulations to Mr. Davis, and I think we'll be seeing him in October.
Yes.
Okay, so item 19, appointment of boards. City Secretary.
We do not have any at this moment.
All right, so we're going to move on to item 20, citizen comments on non-agenda items, even though those wishing to make a comment on non-agenda item can do so by filling out a card. And all you have to do is state your full name, and only for your name. You have 3 minutes. City Secretary.
Just as a reminder for the public, in accordance with the open meetings law, the city council cannot respond. However, council can direct staff to contact you. First up, we have Carmen Haynes.
Hello, my name is Carmen Haynes, and I do reside in Odessa. It's said that we can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. Immanuel Kant. In the past year, 1,395 cats were killed by Odessa Animal Services. For visualization purposes, this is the equivalent of the student population of the average middle school in Odessa. It means that only 3 out of 10 cats left our shelter alive in 2023. Our community is concerned. We are committed to saving animals and believe that better solutions do exist. It should be a goal of Odessa Animal Services to adopt policies and programs to decrease the number of dogs and cats killed while reducing the number of intakes. Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, Release, or TNVR programs accomplish both. I urge you to accept the free outside help of Best Friends that includes resources and funding to prioritize life-saving. According to Spearhar and Wolf 2020 Multidisciplinary Digital Publishing Institute, TNVR programming has had a resounding success in other cities. For instance, Louisville Metro Animal Services in Kentucky saw a 51% decline in euthanasia rates in just one zip code over a 2-year period. That compared with only a 20% decrease in the other zip codes that did not implement TNVR. In 8 years, the euthanasia rates fell by 94%. Surprisingly, while stray intakes fell 28%, owner surrenders fell by 82%. This decline in owner surrenders attributed to increased access and affordability of sterilizations. Also, more shelter adoptions occurred because fewer strays on the streets needed homes. Spearhar and Wolf also reported a drop of 67% in just 4 years in both Jacksonville, Florida, and San Jose, California, after they too implemented TNVR. Today you have a choice. Continue with a policy that criminalizes providing food, water, or shelter to cats. Continue to euthanize at high rates. Continue to build more extensive facilities that are still overcrowded. Continue to be a shelter that, despite the unquestionable hard work and dedication of Shelter Director Hendricks and her staff, are not trusted by many in this community. Or you can accept free help, resources, and funding in implementing a program that fixes the problem at the source, reproduction. Please receive the free help of Best Friends. After all, we can judge the heart of a community by its treatment of animals. Thank you.
Councilman Mother, do you want me to read the letter?
Yes, go ahead.
This is a letter that was received, oh yeah, see, I'm getting as bad as you on that.
Thank you.
You're gonna elbow me before it's over with here. Okay, so this is a letter that was sent to Mayor Hoven and council members dated June the 20th, 2024. And it says to the Honorable Javier Hoven, Mayor of City of Odessa, members of the Odessa City Council. I'm writing on behalf of people of the ethical treatment of animals, PETA, in support of the city's rejection of dubious offers by Best Friends Animal Society, which actually intends to infiltrate, alter, and control operations at the city's animal control and sheltering agency. City leaders are right to maintain control of the city's publicly funded programs. I hope the information below is helpful as you consider offers by Best Friends Animal Society or similar groups. The dangerous policies pushed by groups like Best Friends Society, Best Friends Animal Society, operate on a premise that sacrifices quality of life in exchange for meaningless statistics and marketing slogans deceptively promoted to save animals. They don't. The group is part of a national effort to target and vilify open admission shelters for having, through no fault of their own, to euthanize some animals. Some groups mislead the public into believing that no kill is as simple as not euthanizing animals. We wish it were. Odessa isn't alone. Our office frequently receives reports from across the country about bullying and relentless attacks by Best Friends Animal Society and similar groups that promote policies that aren't in the animals or the public's best interest, such as turning away unwanted or even stray animals and stopping field services and cruelty investigations when a shelter's cages are full, creating a liability for the city when animals who aren't picked up cause public health and safety hazards. Warehousing animals for months or years, keeping multiple animals in cramped cages and kennels designed only for temporary housing, which promotes disease transmission in addition to being inhumane. Keeping animals in crates and other inhumane makeshift quarters when regular cages and kennels are full, and more. No-kill policies also harm and endanger residents. It was recently reported that the wife of a man killed by roaming dogs in Detroit is suing the city and its animal control department because complaints about the animals before the fatal attack had allegedly gone unaddressed. According to the report, the lawsuit suggests that attempts by a nonprofit and the city to avoid euthanasia have created a dangerous environment for Detroiters. The no-kill model is utterly ineffective, reckless, and deadly, the lawsuit argues. According to Best Friends Animal Society website, Detroit Animal Services is a partner of Best Friends. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Best Friends Animal Society has embedded, problems are routinely reported. Just months after the embed was announced, the publicly funded facility closed indefinitely because of distemper outbreak. Later, a media report revealed that animal advocates in Tulsa had been finding animals who were abandoned on roadsides, some already dead, some pregnant, and others starving and emaciated. Other communities, including Little Rock and Bentonville, Arkansas, have effectively withstood the kind of pressure that's currently being placed on Odessa city leaders. Bentonville Mayor Stephanie Orman explained that the city's decision to turn down an agreement with Best Friends Animal Society included concerns about multiple lawsuits against the group and alarm about the city's potential liability. In a recent media report about the rejection of Best Friends Animal Society's offers of free help by Little Rock city leaders, a volunteer at the city's publicly funded animal shelter, Little Rock Animal Village, said Best Friends will stop at nothing to take over the Little Rock Animal Village. The report continues. Shelter volunteers say the decision boils down to a practice called managed intake. It's a tool Best Friends has used in other local shelters, which limits the number of animals coming in. They're left on the streets to reproduce. They're left on the streets to get sick. They're left on the streets to get hit by cars, a volunteer explained. In a recent city council meeting in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where Best Friends Animal Society is also bullying hardworking shelter staff, a city council member publicly backed the city's animal shelter staff members. According to a media report, Fort Wayne City Councilman Jeff Paddock called Best Friend Animal Society's presentation disrespectful to the staff members and volunteers of the Fort Wayne Animal Care and Control. I think to point a finger and say we're not doing our job is a little disrespectful. And I want to put a shout out to our Animal Care and Control Department and say how we're going to continue to work with you. Paddock said, we hope you will also support your shelter staff who work day and night to protect the city's animal and human residents. We urge you to stay firm in maintaining control of your shelter and animal control services to ensure that Odessa's residents who fund them with their taxes continue to be provided with effective service, because every community needs and deserves a haven that accepts unwanted, lost, homeless animals without restrictions, fees, or waiting lists. PETA supports the good work of open admission animal shelters. I hope you'll consider us a resource. And of course, this is from Teresa L. Chagrin, who is the Animal Care and Control Issues Manager, Cruelty Investigations Department of the People for Ethical Treatment of Animals.
Thank you.
And this was received on June 20th, and I believe that I've also sent a letter to Utah to Best Friends, basically a cease and desist, and so here we go.
Seeing that there is no more business before the city council, entertain a motion to
Council,
adjourn.
we have another speaker call.
Oh, we have one
One
more
more
speaker.
speaker.
One more speaker call.
Bring it on.
Chris Crow.
Oh, it's the last one. You don't have to hear from me for 2 whole weeks. Okay, so just a couple things to wrap up on non-agenda items. A few things that I've noticed that I would encourage that the budget be relooked at. You know, our fund balance, I was glad to see that the city did such a good job of cutting expenses in so many areas. I was just kind of not understanding how we cut expenses in so many areas, and yet I saw that expenses actually went up by 11.6 million, or 9.4% total overall, and we watched the overall general fund balance drop from $295,787 to $272,146,000, which is a drop of $23.6 million. But we did such a great job of cutting expenses. I also wanted to see if I could, I'd like to get with Kaylee at some point in the future, because I noticed that the rate of return we have budgeted on that total fund balance of $295 million is only a little over $1 million for the year. I don't know, some of you are mathematically inclined, so $1 million divided by 295 million. Can anybody get a wild guess of what that rate of return is?
I'm sure you'll tell us.
Oh, you know me too well. So that would be 0.34%, 0.34% would be a rate of return on our taxpayer dollars that sits in funds. Last time I checked, most of the money should be either in TextPool or TextLogic, and I believe it's averaging a little over 5% now. So I'm really curious as to why we're budgeting such a low rate of return. Even in a low dropping interest rate environment, the most pessimistic of pessimists that are out there are anticipating rates going no lower than about 4% in the federal open market rate. So I think we're being overly conservative on budgeting our revenues. That should actually produce, at 4%, that would produce us $11.8 million in interest on our general fund, which I have a feeling you guys could find a place to spend that. But if you would, I'd like to get with you on that, Kaylee. That'd be fantastic. And again, I encourage council to go back and really look at this budget, because I think it needs to be amended. Thank you.
We're good?
We're good.
All right. Seeing that there is no more business before the city council, entertain a motion to adjourn by Councilmember
So moved.
Swanner, second by Councilmember
Second.
Thompson. All those in favor indicating by the motion.
Can I look Brown to you?